As soon as you see the triad principle, you know you're talking Druidism. Right from that point on, because the Druids are the well-known people who worship the three and the triangle, and they had their own trinity. You know you're talking the Arya of northern India because they had their Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. That Trimurti, that concept is all over the ancient solar cults and stellar cults of the world. That's just one small anecdote. But I do believe their ideology, their pantheon, their cosmology was much more balanced than what the Atnists came up with.
So the Atnists came up with a solo worship of what is perceived as the male aspect, as the sun.
Absolutely.
And so this became monotheism.
Absolutely.
And as a result, it wiped out, and it was intended to wipe out any of the earth, essentially what is the word I'm looking for when you're talking about the more balanced natural
the matriarchal
order of the religions of the day?
Sure.
So it was intended specifically to wipe that out.
Aggressively so. In fact, all monotheism, as many people like Leonard Schlein have pointed out, is aggressive from point go. It is exclusionary, not inclusive. You see, in the period before the Atnists rose, every other culture, Phoenician, Semitic, Cretan, Grecian, Hyksos, whatever, all of these people basically lived together in harmony. They could worship in harmony, and they saw commonality between their various gods. In fact, many gods are the same god under different names. When the Atnists come along and they make this absolutely they were henotheistic, in the sense that they picked one god from many, because Aton did, as a god, predate Akhenaten. He was worshipped by Akhenaten's forefathers.
Right.
Tuthmosis, I think one of them was a Atnist and so on. Yeah, they were there. But he selected this god of light and lionized him more and promoted this. And by doing that was very aggressively exclusionary. And this included the feminine aspects, the matriarchal cults also.
And at the same time, that period, that 18th dynasty, was known for perpetuating artwork for the first time even, where the mother, the father, and the children are all depicted together, but under the rays of the sun.
But that's bogus, exactly. This is a propaganda, you see. And don't forget, it was only his family.
Yeah.
The chief Atnists.
Yeah.
Again, it was an exclusionary thing. But see, Akhenaten went so far as to prevent Kia, his second wife, from even using her full name, which was an Amonist name, and it meant the vulture goddess, which was again the old pantheons. She could only, he wouldn't allow that. In fact, I think he only gave her the permission finally, and that was because he just had to. She was the only one who was able to bend the rule at all to be able to use some of her titles that were from previously from Amonist basis. Everybody else was absolutely no way, no deal. I mean, he was very strict. They went to bed as soon as the sun set. They were pathologically afraid of the dark. They cancelled the Tsarion cycle of the underworld, which psychologically, if Freud was sitting here, he'd go, well, we have a problems there, for sure. Right? Yeah. You're negating the dark side right away. So don't you see when I would say that there's a psychopathy involved, I can back that up. I can back that up. If you are denying the underworld cycle, you're cancelling out the dark side, even the physical darkness. That is as good a definition of schizoid as I could possibly come up with. I mean, there's people locked up here, raving lunatics operate on that level. So this man, it was a pharaoh, but with megalomania, with a psychopathy. But he had the power, you see, to change Egypt and change ultimately the world, because, as we hope to get into, his descendants ended up back in the ancient homeland.